The following is a production of Medfield TV, Community Shows.
From Community Circle, our consultants helping us through this process. We're going to start with our presentation.
Thank you, Jay. So before we start, I wanted to thank Tina and Nancy from the Nutritional Services. Terry too. The Medfield High School Jazz Band called Jack Shirtleff Trio. The Town-wide Master Plan Committee. Please stand up, committee members, so you may be applauded. The consultant team working on the project. Please wave your hands so you may be applauded. And before we start, I wanted to ask you if you could just call out, how did you hear about tonight's event? Just call it out. Facebook. Flyer. Newsletter. Medfield Day. Sign in the road. Oh, committee members. The patch. So basically, committee, we have to do it all over again for next time. There isn't any one way. So, Martha, can you get back to work? Sarah? Yes, please. Sarah, can you help Martha to get it to work? So I'm Daphne Politis. I'm from Community Circle. We do master planning in communities across the state. We've worked in dozens of communities doing just this. And this is going to be a very brief presentation because we want the bulk of tonight to be about listening from you. But we did want to introduce what it is that we're doing. So, this is the team working on the plan. This is the committee and the consultant team. It's me, Martha, Judy. Where are you, Judy? There, back there. Jeff, and Mike from KLA. He's somewhere. There he is, at the end of the table. So, what is a master plan anyway? Why would you do one? It's a basis for decision making for the future. It's about being proactive, about figuring out what do people care about, what are the shared goals in this community, what are the shared values, and then developing a set of priorities, because obviously we can come up with a whole lot of things we'd like, but we can't do everything, and certainly not all at once. And it's about identifying what should we preserve, what should we change, what's missing, and ensuring that while things change, because change is a sign of life, something we need to embrace, but we just need to guide it to be desirable. How can we make sure that while this is happening, the things you like about Medfield are preserved? So why plan? It's really an opportunity, if you boil it down to its essence, how do we make Medfield a better place to live, work, and play? An even better place. You might say, but I like things the way they are. Well, doing nothing doesn't mean nothing will change. We have to think proactively. We have to make sure that you take care of things, you preserve them, you identify where you want to make changes. It's an opportunity to take stock. It's really a one-in-a-generation opportunity. Your last plan was 1997. And it does help for your eligibility for grant programs. And it provides some kind of security and confidence for people wanting to invest in their community. So what is the process? We start with developing a vision and a set of goals. That's what we're doing here tonight. That's what you want. Simultaneously, we're doing an inventory of your existing conditions. That's what you have. And then we develop a plan, how do you get from where you are to where you want to go? These are the topic areas that the state mandates that we collect information in terms of doing our inventory and assessment of your existing conditions. So it's population and housing, economic development, historic and cultural resources, natural resources, open space and recreation, transportation and circulation, community services and facilities, and land use and zoning. So that's what we're doing simultaneous to the process of visioning and goal setting. We're collecting information about these categories. We're doing that by reviewing existing documents, and this town has a lot. Good thing, it's a good thing. We have a good information base to work with. And conducting what we call leadership interviews with town department heads. And we've conducted these here on the left, and we have scheduled a few more on the right, and we will continue to talk with town government. So what were some key community priorities in your previous plan? Preservation of open space, improving the downtown, diversifying residential development, increasing the commercial tax base, preserving historic character, and determining the reuse of the state hospital campus. So what's changed since then? These are some of the things we think, but you also, we'd like to hear from you what you think may have changed since then. Population, technology, some improvements to the downtown. In fact, some of us worked on the downtown plan, and we're happy to see that some of that has been implemented, and it's looking much more lively and more attractive. A greater awareness regarding health, wellness, and resiliency, and how that relates to planning. And of course, the proposed reuse plan for the state hospital, which we, as part of the master plan, will relate to, but this is about it being the whole town, it's town-wide. So tonight starts the process of the community conversation, the conversation with all of you. And what are the goals of that? Why do we do that, since we've done dozens of plans before? Because we need to know, this is your town, we need to know from you what it is that you treasure and want to make sure is preserved, what it is that you think needs improvement, what it is that you think is missing. And we base our plan on that input. We incorporate it, and it's integral to the plan. And we want this process to be inclusive and transparent and provide multiple opportunities. So we have 3 main events that are town-wide like this. Now in the beginning, midway, where we share our findings, and then at the end, where we unveil the plan to you and ask for feedback. But we will have other times that are going to be maybe through a survey, maybe through a questionnaire, where you will have an opportunity to participate. And we want to establish those priorities for the future. So, it used to be that people had a lot more time. They weren't getting constant barrages of messages and places to be simultaneously, 5 places you had to be, an answer to the email, to the text. So more and more, it's 9% of adults attended 1 public meeting per year. This is from a Pew study. 48% have never attended a public meeting, but 87% of Americans use the internet. So we want to think of ways of capitalizing on that. What we'd like to ask you, because that's a nationwide snapshot, on the back of your agenda, we'd like to ask you, can you think of ways in which we can better engage more Medfield residents? And if you do have thoughts about that, please jot them down and give them to us on the back of your agenda. So we're thinking about ways, using social media, surveys, of course the website, there's a master plan website. Please check in there frequently just to see what we're doing. We'll be putting updates and also additional invitations to you. We're also inviting youth to participate. The children's librarian and the teen librarians are already putting together programs at the end of November where they will be asking children and teens to vision. There's a member of the committee who will be Jess, who will be working at the high school to do visioning with high school students, and we've tried to incorporate that as much as we can. Every time you see this logo, we want you to know that this is about the plan. We've struggled a little bit because you have two very important planning efforts going on simultaneously. One is the state hospital reuse and the other is the townwide master plan. So we just want you to know that when you see this, it's about the townwide master plan. So again, we look for opportunities. What are the features that define and make Medfield unique? That's what some of those questions are all about, so we understand better what you think needs to be preserved in Medfield. How do you define a town's character? Everywhere we go, they say, we want to protect the town's character. What are the features that define that for you? What is it that we want to be sure we take care to preserve? What should be improved? What's missing? Look for locations or issues that need to be addressed. And of course, integrate and reuse the state hospital property, such an asset, such an opportunity that, of course, requires a lot of thoughtful planning. And sustainability. So sustainability is used in many different ways. When we talk about it, we think of it as the three-legged stool. There's social equity, environmental protection, and economic vitality. And each community is in a different place with regard to each of those legs, and thinks of different ways of addressing them. So in the end, we want to come back to you with an implementation plan that's useful, that's user-friendly, that makes sense, that can be implemented. Because if we come up with a vision and a set of goals that you can't achieve, then what would be the point of all of this? So we identify the timing, the phasing, and also low-hanging fruit that you can get going on, low cost, high impact. So what are we going to do today? This is what we want to do, and this is what most of the meeting should be about. It's about listening to you. So we're going to stay where you are in your seats, and you're going to have a facilitator. And all the groups are going to be talking about the same questions. So don't worry about what's going on at the next table. They're talking about the same things. And once your discussions are complete, we are going to ask you to share with the larger group what your group's priorities were. And then at the end, we're going to thank you by holding a raffle. So you can't win unless you're here. Just saying. Does anyone have any questions before we start? Okay. Anyone didn't get any food? There's still some out there. Bon appetit. Okay, so it seems everyone is finished. What we're going to do now is we're going to hear from each group very briefly. We're going to hear what the group's top 3 favorite things about Medfield are that you'd like to preserve into the future, what the group's least favorite things are, the top 3 that you'd like to change or improve, and if you had one thing that you could do to improve Medfield, what would it be? Again, only the top 3. So please Take a moment, if you haven't done so, to circle the top dot getters in each category. And please raise your hand if you're ready to report back. So please, this is not cordless, so you'll have to come up here.
Okay. First of all, we're going to make a recommendation that every meeting in town now has cookies. I'm just saying, this has to happen. We might not be able to afford it, but let's come together. Okay, never mind. Okay, favorite things. We actually had a lot of consensus on this. Our number one was amount of open space. That was running away with it. And then I cheated a little bit. I took small town environment and sense of community as number 2. And number 3 was proactive purchase of land. That the town is taking responsibility to take control of its land. So that was ours.
Okay, for our favorites, we had schools, open spaces, and safety. Least favorite things were high taxes, lack of empty nester housing, and a non-existent commercial tax base. And then things that we could do to improve reduce traffic congestion, balance the needs of different demographics, such as elderly versus the school population, and get going with the state hospital development.
Okay, favorite things were the appearance of town center, the schools, the pride in them, and the teachers, and open space. The least favorite things were clearing of land and building larger apartment buildings, lack of public transportation, and lack of middle-income housing. And then the things to improve Medfield, we had one that we put together because they made sense to put together, and that is adding public transportation and a trolley into Boston or to the MBTA. And then State Hospital, make it an amazing town destination. And lastly, diversify housing for all income levels.
Right, so let's say favorite things: walk over downtown, Rocky Woods, open space, open recreation, hiking, and number 3, good schools. Our least favorite things: taxes, followed by lack of town administration, resources and spending in the town administration, and lack of a community center, adult and youth community center. Okay? And then, to improve Medfield, number 1, smart development of hospital property to address multiple opportunities in town. Number 2, reducing property taxes, perhaps utilizing the proceeds from the hospital for town infrastructure. And number 3, we've heard it, more business development, generating more tax revenue.
Of course, the downside of going first is I didn't know we were supposed to do all of them at the same time, so my bad. Wasn't that good a facilitator. Number 2, least favorite things, ours was the tax base right now, high taxes. Number 2 was traffic as the least favorite, and then sidewalks or lack thereof. And then to improve Medfield, you can see we cheated big time there, we combined. But realizing the potential of the state hospital was number 1. Number 2 was traffic control and lower taxes. They got the same vote. I couldn't get them to decide, so we just cheated. And then number 3 is infrastructure and more commercial. We're also proud. So.
Thanks for coming back to finish that.
Hi, I'm Charlie. So we had things we like about Medfield. It's a very safe community, and that's special. Green spaces are great, and the school district is excellent, and there's going to be challenges to do with that. I'm sure other people discuss that in your groups, but we like the schools very much. Let's see. Things we don't like so much about Medfield. I think part of it is traffic, and related to traffic, we'd like an MBTA stop. That's a state problem, but we'd like to put some pressure on the state for that. Related, let's see, lack of commercial base to have better tax base, so yeah, we'd like more commerce, and we should talk about that. Lawn chemical use. We like all the beautiful lawns, but it's everybody's water cycle, so we might want to look into that if people are interested. Low impact commercial, things to improve Medfield. Low impact commercial, like we say, we want to diversify the tax base. Public transportation, which is good for another problem here, carbon efficiency. So that's both transit, we'd like investments in that, and also when the town was going to buy all those, we did buy solar panels and allow people to buy in cooperatively. I think that's good policy.
We sat in the back row hoping that we wouldn't be noticed or called upon, and then I drew the short straw and had to come up here and do this. Strong public schools, lots of dots. Downtown with restaurants and shops, and Woods was next, but really doing the combining thing. Woods, wildlife, and open space combined together are the top item. And that's the good stuff. Now for the other stuff. Taxes. There's been an issue with the group with Route 109 traffic. We want to build a Medfield bypass, and there is no public transportation. And then finally, things. This is just general, a whole bunch of different zoning themes came up during our discussion. So I think a lot of these dots about zoning, there are different people with different opinions about what should happen with zoning, but the general consensus was we need to look closely at our zoning and see if we can find ways to make it work better for the town in the future. And then behind that is implement the master plan for the Medfield State Hospital. And we can circle these. Traffic on Route 109 was again a top issue for the group.
On the first question, our favorite thing about Medfield, our group selected open space, followed by the small town feel and a sense of community. And as far as what's missing in Medfield, the top choice was public transportation. Second was a rec center to replace the ZAP center. And third was a town pool. And what's one thing would you change in Medfield is our top one was improve pedestrian safety. And second and third were lighted crosswalks and curbs on sidewalks, which are all part of improving pedestrian safety. And yeah, those are the top three.
Well, I don't know what town you guys are living in, but these guys are living in a whole different town. That's not true. All right, so the very first thing that we thought about what we like the most about Medfield is its historic character and its connection to the past. And the second thing was a vibrant center. It's walkable, there are things to do, and there's a variety. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm ancient, but for you, we'll bring more things. And the kind of tie for 8, which is only tiny bit different, but it is a little different, is protected spaces and open space. So those are things that are very important to this group up front, the ones who don't live there in Medfield. There were, on number 2, the things that people liked the least is that they felt that young homeowners were not interested in running the town. There was, it's very children-focused to the exclusion of everything else, and that there's a lack of diversity, both in terms of race, ethnicity, religion, and socioeconomic. And then, question number 5, what do you think is, what could change things, what would we like to see? The top go-getter was, can't tell because they didn't do this one. They were all basically 8s. Public transportation, updating the infrastructure within the town. I heard very specifically about sewers, about power lines, about all these things. And then fixed traffic. Again, that was totally an outlier, but that they would like to, commercial tax base. What did I just say that I lied about? I guess I had kind of a moment. All right, maybe the infrastructure isn't as important as they say. So anyway, fixed traffic, developed commercial base, and public transportation. All right, thank you.
Our group over here, our favorite place, Charles River, the open space and trail network in Medfield, and the small town feel. Least favorite, high tax rate, big dense development, and traffic. And the things to improve in Medfield, an absolute halt on new housing permits, prevent overdevelopment at Medfield State Hospital, and attract businesses in town that will pay high taxes.
Okay, for our group, the 3 favorite things about Medfield, very similar to previous ones. Access to green space, number 1. Number 2 was cultural opportunities. And then number 3 was tied for historic legacy preservation and walkable downtown. In terms of the least favorite, number 1 was the fact that we don't have a community center. Number 2 is heavy traffic volume, surprise, surprise. And we also had a tie. Number 3 was lack of diversity, economic and ethnic, was tied with affordability. And then in terms of the one thing to improve, our number 1 was art community, a vibrant art community center at the State Hospital. Number 2 was community-wide communication and civic engagement. And then number 3 was affordable small houses.
So we've been talking about the future, and the future is not us. We have a representative of the future with us tonight. Your name, please.
David.
How old are you?
6.
And what would you like to see in Medfield's future? Turn and show it.
Okay, so we got a chance to talk about his favorite and least favorite things. And his favorite things was that he can bike to his friend's house. He has friends who live right next door, and the playground down the street. His least favorite things was that there's too much traffic when he rides the bus to school. And his solution is to get rid of some of our stoplights.
Thank you so much. So we also had some teens here, but they went home to do their homework. But Megan here talked with them, and she can report on what they said.
Yeah, so a group of teens and I also had a conversation, and their favorite things was the uptown area that was easy to walk around, and great place for middle schoolers and high schoolers to hang out. They also liked the sense of community and that they felt like the community kind of changes with the needs of the town. We talked about friendly switching to Dunkin' Donuts. Their least favorite thing was a lack of public transportation. They mainly walk and bike to get around, but they were thinking of those who can't walk or bike. Challenges they see in the future, maybe too many people moving here, or a triple E outbreak. They're feeling that with their sports practices. If they could make a change, they would have more fast food chains, Chipotle and Chick-fil-A. They also wanted an ice cream store. And the other thing they said that Medfield was missing was more turf fields and transportation options.
So does everyone here have a raffle ticket? If not, raise your hand. Keep it raised so that we can. So check in on the town website or with the town planner to find out what we're doing, when we're doing. This process is to take about a year. So stay informed. There's the, you can just go on the town's website and find the town master plan committee. And also, please stay involved. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your relatives that this is important. And this is the first stage, visioning and goal setting. We'll come back sometime in March, and we will share the vision and goal that we came up with all together, as well as our findings in terms of our inventory and assessment of your existing conditions. And we'll have another discussion. It's iterative. It's not a repeat. This is moving forward, and we're trying to assimilate all that we can in terms of facts, in terms of trends, and in terms of what it is that we learn. And then in June, we'll have a public forum, again, where we'll present the plan, we'll present the implementation steps. So again, we want you there to make sure that we heard you, to make sure we have it right. We want you to say, oh, this is good, this is not so good, this is missing. So we need you to be with us throughout so that it works for you. Yeah, that's Landis for before. So thank you so much.
The proceeding was a production of Medfield TV, Community Shows.